Cricbuzz Live, looking back at the first one-day international between India and New Zealand from McLean Park in Napier. And I can tell you, we always promise you quality reviews here on the show. And in terms of predictions, we also promise you quality, and we got you exactly that. At the start of the show, we mentioned approximately hovering around the 310, 315 mark. And I can tell you 313 runs were scored, and we were absolutely spot on. We didn't commit to the fact that it's going to be scored by only one team, but there you go. 313 runs in the mat. Well done, gentlemen.
Who was closest? You were 306?
Yes.
I was
317.
No,
I was 317.
You were 317. Damn, he's closest again.
There you go.
You were 327, I was 306, right?
Yeah, the
so
only
I was
difference,
second, you
of
were
course,
third.
that it was split over 2 innings, but what's a couple of innings between friends?
It's not our fault that New Zealand batted like that.
Absolutely, but
I mean, look at the way India batted. India 156 for 2, easing up after 35. India would have got 300 easily.
it just shows that, absolutely. But overall, if you have to look at it, yes, good performance from Shikhar Dhawan, but no matter what, the bowlers set up to win for India, and that's the biggest satisfaction. At the toss, Virat Kohli mentioned, in a batsman's game, don't forget those guys.
And you're talking to a batsman,
Absolutely.
right? And you're talking to a batsman.
Look at that smile as a result.
Absolutely, I think bowlers did set up the game beautifully for Indian batsmen to have this kind of approach when they're batting. The game was virtually done and dusted by mid innings. You all we all knew that how the game is going to pan out. Yes, the sun also played a crucial part in delaying the inevitable, but nonetheless, I think it was a complete performance by the team. They'll take a lot of confidence, because this series we're talking about wasn't going to be easy, and to start the series in this fashion, I think is going to set the tone for the remainder of the series. New Zealand will have to really work hard to put pressure on this Indian team now, because the confidence is going to be on the higher side. The momentum going into the series now, it's going to be much better for Indian team for the remainder of the series.
You say you learn something new every day from a cricket match. That every day you go to cricket, you learn something new. I learned something new today. Sun stops play.
Yes, absolutely.
I've
Before
never
we
seen
talk about
Sun
the bowling,
stops play before. Bowling we knew is good. Batting didn't get stretched. India doesn't know too much more other than the top 3 are going to win you games. But Sun stops play.
And the very fact that we've got a couple of gentlemen, one who's covered matches for many, many years, you've played, you've been on the field for so many years, and if neither of you have seen it really, and we had to dig into the archives to figure out that Green Park Kanpur is actually an east-west ground, but it hasn't really impacted anything because of the angle and the less intensity of the wintry sun. And Old Trafford, interestingly, in 1995, England versus West Indies, Dickie Bird took the players off for an early tea because one of the batsmen complained that the sun was in his eyes.
They don't know enough about the game, so they've made it east-west, right? That's what they would have said. Anyway, forget that. I was trying to be funny, it went wrong. But east-west, I mean, you always thought grounds are north-south, but this one was apparently either northeast, southwest, or southwest, northeast, one of these. But it's at an angle of 30 degrees to an east-west plane. And that's why when the bowler was bowling right arm over to the left-hander, it was through the line it was getting affected. Second slip wouldn't have had a chance to take a catch.
Yeah. And you think cricket is just about a bat and ball. You need to know the intricacies of physics to figure out how to set a pitch up.
See, in test matches, you've seen at times, because of the shadow of the stands, at times the game is stopped before the finish time. But we've seen not often we've seen game being stopped because of too much light or too much light affecting the batsman. So that's something which was new, and it was interesting to learn throughout the game that how incidences like this have happened in the past, which was well before my time, JV.
Yeah, and since you were trying to be a little cheeky there, I'll notice the only write-up I found out about Kanpur was attributing it to the fact that it was actually built pre-independence. So guess who built it?
So there you go. But I've seen games held up because somebody in the crowd was trying to flash a mirror into the player's eyes. Now the sun decided to do it itself.
So blame the almighty upstairs for the bright sun, but at the end it was India who shone brighter. Yeah. And since we start talking about the bowlers, what was good was that without Bhuvneshwar Kumar actually contributing as much as he normally does, you had Kuldeep Yadav taking the most wickets. Of course, he picked up some at the end. Yuzvendra Chahal with a couple of wickets and a couple of great caught-in balls. And the standout would have to be Mohammad Shami.
Yes. If you look at India in the last 12 months or so, Bhuvi and Bumrah have been the constants. You've tried Umesh Yadav, you've tried Khalil Ahmed, you've tried Mohammad Siraj, you've tried Shardul Thakur. But Shami wasn't in the scheme of things. I think Shami has booked his place to England. I think they'll now figure out how to manage his workload. He opened the game, then came back, picked up a third wicket. But Shami's booked his place, hasn't he?
Almost, I think.
Yeah.
You can say that. And again, I'm just giving emphasis on the fact that how you use Shami is going to be very, very critical. You have to have a defined role for your, especially for your third seamer, because at the moment Shami is bowling with the new ball. Bumrah is going to be back in the side, then he will probably take the new ball. Shami will have to alter his role in the side. And looking at his bowling style, I think he should be finishing his overs before 40 overs. So Bumrah will be taking most of the load in the death overs. Spinners hopefully will be continuing to set the platform for the seamers to come in the power play 3, where things are easier. If you've taken 3 or 4 wickets in the middle overs, then you know that the damage in the last 10 overs will be restricted to some degree, depending on the day. But Bhuvneshwar and Bumrah has been bowling those last 7-8 overs consistently well for Indian team. So keeping that in mind, and keeping that Shami will have to now probably bowl one change when Bumrah comes back. His role needs to be defined clearly.
Because the reason I said he's booked his place is there's 9 games to play at that World Cup. So he'll probably be, I don't know if they pick 15 or 16, I haven't seen the notification yet, but I think he'll be on that flight now.
There was a time when Khalil started out, when everyone was very excited, and after a couple of games was almost saying that, look, there's enough in this for him to see that, okay, he's got half a ticket in there.
Yeah, he's left-handed as well. That helps. India doesn't have another left-hander. So it's not that they sent him back from the airport yet. But he's definitely in there. And I'll be surprised if he doesn't play one of the games in this series. He's got to have another go. Maybe give Siraj another go at some point. But definitely give Khalil another go during these 5 games at some point here.
Certainly have. And turning our attention to the batting, I know Harsha mentioned at the start that one of the key boxes India will want to take, Shikhar needs to get a few runs. And he did.
Yeah.
Got a life, yes, but you obviously make those count.
I think it was important that he make use of these opportunities, because he's not been part of the test team. He was having a time off of sorts from cricket in that phase. So when you come back, and especially leading up to the World Cup, you don't want to tinker too much with your side. So Rohit and Shikhar have been giving you that consistent start. So the top 3 are going to be the most crucial one if the same players are playing. Because come World Cup, we obviously this year is going to be all about World Cup and how the team is building towards the World Cup. It's going to be very important that the pressure situations of the World Cup, because it's a completely different kettle of fish when you're playing World Cup. There are too many other factors also come into play. So that's something which is very important, that the side which you are taking there should be equipped to deal with those different kind of situations, and also being comfortable in the roles which they've been playing. Then you don't have to talk too much as a team management or encourage them too much, because they're pretty much set in their roles. They know how to prepare for it, and be comfortable in terms of dealing different situations in game time.
Also, Shikhar Dhawan seems to rise to the occasion. The moment you see tell him it's a multi-nation tournament, something happens to his bat. Got past 5,000 ODI runs today, just a little landmark. But
no, it's quite a landmark, 5,000 runs in one-day international cricket. For someone who towards the end of 2018 was thinking, where am I going, where's my future going, will I get another red ball game? But in the white ball game, there's no dislodging him. So I think runs for Shikhar Dhawan is important. He looked all right in a couple of games in Australia, but didn't get the big score. So I think that is a plus. And I'd like to see whether India solved its number 4 problem, assuming Dhoni doesn't bat there. But we didn't get to see that because New Zealand didn't score enough runs.
Also, the fact that given this low total, I remember commenting that Virat Kohli is one of those batsmen who probably likes to have his helmet on if he's next in. But we saw him sitting there without the helmet on. So for a moment I was thinking, wait, is he going to tinker around a little bit, give somebody else a chance at 3? At the end he didn't. Could he have?
Could he have? What do you think? Do you say that the top 3 are non-negotiable, that whatever happens you still have to win the game? So the top 3 you don't tinker with? Or do you say, no, I've got enough confidence that I'm going to win this anyway. I'll try sending Raidu at 3 and see whether he can build a 60-70 to bolster his case. But clearly the team thinking was top 3 you don't tinker with.
Or maybe, if you've had some 70-80 run partnership, then that thought would have crossed his mind. But I completely agree with Harsha that when you have doesn't matter what kind of total you have, your top three don't think of it like even if it's 150, you have early wickets, your top three needs to be out there taking that pressure. If you had a big partnership for the first wicket, then you can think of putting someone in just to give some game time, because the game then pretty much in control, that you're sure going to win the game.
I know it's some sort of an academic decision, but we were having a little chat about possible man of the match contenders. We did say a lot of people would be tempted to look at Shikhar Dhawan. Kuldeep Yadav technically took the most wickets, but Mohammad Shami is man of the match, and I think that's the best possible
Had
decision.
to be good. Had to be because the bowler set it up. He took 2 early wickets straight away. New Zealand with that long batting lineup on the back foot, comes back, picks up another wicket in his next spell. 6 overs, 3 for 19. And as we saw afterwards, when New Zealand bowled, there wasn't much in the track, was there?
Yeah.
So it was an excellent spell, well deserving.
And as you said, it's also that sometimes the nature of the wickets that you look at. I mean, no disrespect to Kuldeep Yadav. He did sort of clean up what was left after the danger was done. Colin Munro, Martin Guptill, both bowled, and then that LBW of Mitch Santner.
See, it's a team game end of the day. So there are different passages of play which you have to think of. If there were no loss for first 10 wickets, first 10 overs, how when you come on to bowl as a spinner, your mindset is different. And when you have 2 wickets on the board, then when you come into bowl, your mindset is completely different. You are, as a spinner, you are able to flight the ball more, because you know that the batsman is on defensive. So they're not going to look to take risks. So that's when, as a spinner, you have that luxury of taking those chances. You've seen Chahal also. You're talking about Chahal bowling slower through the air, giving lot of flight. So that's something which, as a bowler, you're able to do it because you have the opponents on the defensive mindset. So that's something which is important, and how you achieve that is by taking wickets in that first 10 overs. And that's something which Shami did beautifully. The power play, I think it was just 33 runs with 2 wickets down. Even though Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson was batting at that stage, they were not looking to be aggressive. They had to be very careful to see off that phase of the game.
And Harsha, you were talking about this, that when you look at Shami, there are times you can tell just by the way he's running in. And he said when he picked up the man of the match that injuries, when he was away from injury, did a lot of good to his mind when he went through rehab, and it's almost made him come back hungrier.
He bowled brilliantly in the 2015 World Cup. Him and Umesh Yadav took the new ball, both bowled really well in the 2015 World Cup. He missed about a year after that, I think. Shami was away for a year, year and a half
almost
after that.
A year.
And I saw some numbers about how much he had bowled in 2014-15. So he wasn't rested. He bowled a lot in 14-15, played the 15 World Cup and was gone. But sometimes when you see Shami running in, you feel like pushing him from behind. Chal na, chal, chal, push, run. But when he runs in, and that seam loves him, and when it comes on, you almost want to see every ball in super slow-mo. It just comes like that beautifully. So when he's running in, he's got the best. He's got such a beautiful. Yeah. Bhuvi's not got a bad release either. Bhuvi's got a good release, but he's got a beautiful release. But I don't know. You know better. You know these things better.
With Shami,
do you need to give him wind him up a little bit or what?
I think that injury which he had was knee injury, and it kept him out of the game for about a year. It's never easy to come back from that sort of injury. And after that, he has actually altered his run-up as well. He shortened his run-up. So he was getting used to just being in that new run-up as well. He's looking very good right now. He's looking in very good rhythm. He has played enough test matches. And one thing with test matches, when you're playing a lot of test matches, you're bowling enough overs. Yes. And then you're not worried about where your ball is going, because in a test match, in a day you're bowling about 120 deliveries, and more often than not you got to get that ball in that 5 meters, 5.5 meters kind of a length. With the action which Shami has, and with the kind of release which he has, and the seam positioning which he has, if he gets those things going perfectly for him, he will always extract something out of the wicket. So that's something which he has proved. It's just about him keeping fit and having more and more game time is going to be crucial for him.
Now, since we're looking so much ahead to the 2019 World Cup, what would you read into Dinesh Karthik being rested and Ambati Rayudu being brought back? Because he did do enough to keep his place in the side. Or do you tell him that, look, I think here's your plane ticket. We just want Ambati Rayudu to get into the groove and get some runs.
Yeah. Look, because of the 2019 World Cup, this game has context. If the 2019 World Cup was 2 years away, we'd look at this game and say, it was just another one-day game, right, one-sided. My feeling is, who does Virat Kohli want at number 4? And I think that could well determine whether Ambati Rayudu has been sent in here ahead of Dinesh Karthik. Does Virat Kohli want MS Dhoni to bat at 4 or at 5? He seemed to suggest after the last game in Australia that he wanted Dhoni to bat at 5. If he wants Dhoni to bat at 5 and he thinks Jadhav and Karthik are playing similar roles, then number 4 has to be Rayudu. So maybe he's just giving Rayudu another opportunity to bat at 4. He needs the 3-4 overs from Jadhav because Vijay Shankar was playing. So maybe he told Dinesh Karthik, look, maybe not today. Some other time, maybe just that. I don't know.
It's not too late. I feel that there might be someone else coming and taking that position also, because that particular mystery is still not solved. You know, you haven't got a concrete answer around that. So that's something which maybe left-hander. You might look for power, because clearly at the moment we are looking at Indian team looking for those options around that 5, 6, 7. And how we can fill in those kind of slots.
Almost an X factor you're talking about here.
There's Dinesh Karthik. You've seen that he's been in and out of the team. He hasn't been given a through and through run. You know, where team management has told him that, okay, you know, here are your 10 games. Feel comfortable. You know, do your job. That's something which has not happened. So it's a very tricky kind of a situation for Dinesh Karthik. He will feel that he's hard done.
Most use of the opportunity and had an early team meeting.
He was sitting, I know, he was sitting with Shubman Gill all the time talking KKR. But I'll tell you one thing, I'll be very interested in seeing where Rishabh Pant bats when the England Lions, I think he's playing 2 one-days here. I thought he's going to play all 5 actually. I don't know why he's not playing all 5. But he's only been picked for the last 2 one-days.
Interesting, if you have a look at that, it's almost 2 different squads for the first 3 and the next couple.
So Rahane is captain of that. I don't know if Rahane is still in the mix, because Rahane has been made captain of India to play against the England Lions.
Only for the one tranche.
One tranche, there's 3 games. But Rishabh Pant is not in that side. I thought Rishabh Pant would bat at number 4 in each of the 5 games against what's a pretty good England Lions side, and see if he's making a case at number 4.
It's a long World Cup. So, you know, you would want to have 2 wicket keepers in your side. That's something which definitely going to be the case going for the World Cup. Now the question is whether you want MS Dhoni is certainly be there. Who is going to be the second one? You know, is it going to be Dinesh Karthik or is it going to be Rishabh Pant? So that's something which, depending on what kind of role team management is looking to fill in, is going to decide.
So therefore you're suggesting that if Rishabh Pant does have a chance, it can only be at Dinesh Karthik's expense.
Not really. I think, you know, it's I mean, you know, if you're looking at just likewise replacement in terms of wicket keeper, because mind you, Dinesh Karthik has not been keeping, so he's fitting in the side purely as batsman. So that rules out the possibility of team management just looking at Dinesh Karthik as wicket keeper batsman. Rishabh Pant, when it comes to discussion, is again going to be either a backup wicket keeper, or when he's playing alongside MS Dhoni is definitely going to keep. So that is something we have to wait and figure out which direction things are going.
Karthik is, I mean, may not have been keeping for a while now, but he is still an out-and-out keeper batsman. Unlike, say, Ambati Rayudu, who has, of course, kept in the IPL, not very successfully,
and who has bowled. When Ambati Rayudu bowled those 2 overs in Australia, I was just wondering whether they'll call him in the first ball or the second ball or the third ball. But Rayudu's not going to bowl again for India. But you're right, Ambati Rayudu did keep wickets. But if you're playing 9 games and Dhoni has a problem, you can Dinesh Karthik he's kept all his life. He can keep for a couple of games. That's not an issue. The question is, do you want Rishabh Pant in the side? Do you want him to bat at 4? Is Rayudu's position under threat? Because who else is going to bat at 4? I don't think they want Jadhav to bat at 4. I don't think they want Karthik to bat at 4. So from among the current contenders, to me it looks like it's either Rayudu or Dhoni at 4. That's why I keep saying, who does Kohli want following him in the order? If Kohli wants Dhoni following him in the order, then a lot of things fall into place. But if Kohli doesn't want Dhoni to bat at 4 and wants him to bat at 5, then you need to find someone at 4. Rayudu's front runner at the moment.
Interesting, Virat Kohli was, of course, other than his bowlers, very much acknowledged the role of Shikhar Dhawan, and not only said that it was an important innings for him, but in the sun break, it's not a phrase we've heard before, we've had drinks breaks and all sorts of, so in the sun break, Virat Kohli took full advantage and told Shikhar, you need to stay there and finish this game. And
he did.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last couple of years, and you will find the same story repeated over and over again, which is your top 3. One of the top 3 has been scoring big in run chases or batting first. So that something has been the story. So today, when Rohit Sharma got out and Virat also was batting with Shikhar, so that help was always going to be there. And it's evident that Virat wants him to make use of all the opportunities which is getting leading up to the World Cup, because you know pretty much that your top 4, top 5 are going to be the same 5 which you'll see in the World Cup as well.
But looking ahead, I think it's worth having a look at the entire India squad that's available. We briefly mentioned Shubman Gill. There are a few others who are contenders to get in there. Now, with the performance we've had, obviously, just like we said, with that number 3 slot, it's important to go ahead and win the match. So Virat Kohli's first objective is obviously, come what may, to go ahead and win the series outright. But looking ahead at the 2019 World Cup, what are the options that lie, if at all, for that second one? Let's just quickly have a look at the squad that's available, and that's the names highlighted in blue are the ones who did not play today: Dinesh Karthik, Jadeja, Mohammad Siraj, Khalil Ahmed and Shubman Gill.
So your reserve opener here is Shubman Gill. Your only other guy who can bat at 4 is Shubman Gill, because luckily he bats anywhere. Remember, there's a third opener slot as well, 9 games. You can't just assume that Rohit and Shikhar will open throughout the World Cup every single game. You'd like that to be true, but you don't know if that'll happen. So remember, the third opener spot up for grabs as well. And that third opener, if he's not Shubman Gill, is not in the side yet. And that is why I keep saying what I said right at the start: resolve the KL Rahul Hardik Pandya issue quickly. This is not a bureaucracy. This is not, you're not calling for tenders to build a dam. You're not calling for tenders to build a highway that it could take 3 months or 6 months to set up a tender. You're just taking action against 2 people who did something stupid and naughty. But people do make mistakes. Say, right, you made a mistake, this is it. But come on, you've got to start playing cricket again. So who is your third opener in the World Cup? If your third opener is Rahul, he has to get into the side back as quickly as possible. So I think that's the other part that needs to be resolved very quickly, because Shubman Gill clearly here is a replacement for KL Rahul, whose white ball skills are fine. There's an issue over his red ball skills, but white ball, no problem.
Could you float a tender to build a dam at McLean Park to keep the sun out?
not a bad idea. Or just put a little, put a little barrier over there maybe. Because 3 days ago they stopped a domestic
game, yes. Yeah. It's happened, and Dooley said apparently that it has happened in the past.
Yes.
But again, coming back to that second match, do you see any changes for India? I mean, the commanding performance, don't tamper with the winning side. But again, you have to keep talking about the fact that it's not just about winning. You want to win, but you are trying things for a good reason, and that's 2019.
You will probably want to continue with the change which they made in this match, which is Kuldeep and Chahal playing together. If they've again made that kind of impact in the middle overs, you would want to continue with that kind of process. The only other change will be possibly debatable is whether you want to try 3 pure bowlers. That's something which team management will be debating on. Apart from that, I don't see any other changes.
So you mean possibly a Vijay Shankar, and then you get in one of the genuine quick
because at the moment you have a batsman at 7, and you've got half a bowler in Vijay Shankar, half a bowler in Kedar Jadhav, hoping they make 1, but you've got a batsman at 7. If you want to play a third seamer, then you've got to say, right, 6 batsmen, you go and win the game for you. Bhu will help around in the 7, and let's try out Khalil or Siraj.
Now, while the next game might be a very important day for India, of course, 26 January, it's going to be important for New Zealand as well. The opposition, they need to come back into this, and of course, not just for the series, but they too, like every other country in the world, are rebuilding and trying to find that 15 or 16 for the World Cup.
They look pretty settled, actually. I think the only person they're missing from this side, they didn't play Colin de Grandhomme today. So if they want to look at Colin de Grandhomme in the side, if they're missing Jimmy Neesham, who played well against Sri Lanka, if they want to try out Ish Sodhi, they have to give Santana as many games as possible. He's come back after a long layoff. So the only question is, will they play someone like an Ish Sodhi for either a Lockie Ferguson or a Tim Southee is something you've got to think, or Doug Bracewell.
Yeah, the Grandhomme has always shown that he is an impact player, and with Neesham not there, they are 2 very similar players. You'd expect
from New Zealand side, what they'll be thinking about is how to play different phases of the game. I think that the chat will be more around regrouping, getting that confidence going, working together as a team, creating that kind of platform. Because when you play first half of the match so poorly, it's never easy for you to just kind of have a good body language out there or have the positive thinking. So the talk will be more around what kind of approach they should have, how they should play different phases of the game, and particularly your bowlers also need something to play with. So if you're batting first, you got to put up those runs on board, get as close to the pass score as possible, if not over. And if you're bowling first, it's always about keeping that total below par or having that impact earlier on in the game.
He makes a valid point. Who bails out New Zealand? New Zealand play one day cricket a lot like England do. They just go, 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 go. They just keep attacking all the way. Maybe Williamson is just holding it a little bit, but otherwise they're just going go, go, go all along because they're used to playing 330, 340 games. So if you're suddenly 50 for 3, then what happens? And they need to get used to playing differently in different phases, I guess. I mean, it's just a thought.
Yeah, but also in terms of playing the spinners, you know, the second number that got defied today, other than our wonderful predictions at the start of the show.
Which you were right.
Which we were right, of course, in total number of runs, was the fact that spin doesn't always make an impact in New Zealand. You pointed out, look who's below that, Australia.
And Chahal got wickets there.
And Chahal got wickets there. Chahal got wickets today, so did Kuldeep Yadav. So there was enough impact from the spinners to suggest that, yes, there will be an impact, so enough to think about for New Zealand. How do we take on those 20 overs?
One way to do that is not give wickets in the top 10, and therefore, as he said right at the start, the spinners will bowl differently, and so then tackle the spinners a little bit more. If you're one down when the spinners come on, then the pressure's on the spinners, not on the batsmen.
Australia obviously found a way as time went on. England also, we saw in that summer they had struggled a little bit against spin, but what do you think New Zealand need to do? Because it didn't seem that they weren't able to read Kuldeep Yadav. It's just that one or two of them were even soft dismissals.
You need someone to bat through that phase of the innings. When Kane Williamson was batting, he was easily collecting those 3-4 runs per over. So that's something which you need in that middle over. Those 20 overs which you talk about, 20 overs. If you're just batting 4-5 runs per over, you collect enough runs in that phase, and that's more often than not is more than enough if you have wickets in hand. If you don't have wickets in hand, then that's where the real trouble starts. So to get to that kind of a scenario, which you've seen in the Australian series as well, they've been 50-50 run partnerships. So they've been losing wickets, but they've been losing wickets to calculated risk or to a good ball. So that's something which is very important to build those partnerships in the middle phase. If you look at the first 10 over runs in Australian series as well, it was around 40 runs in the first 10 overs with 2 wickets down. But the important thing is to see off that phase with the calculated risk kind of approach rather than just playing the big shots. Also, the single and doubles matter. It doesn't matter the size of the ground, but the approach has to be focusing more on rotating that strike and then waiting for the loose ball.
Yes, indeed. And one might have a couple of pundits in the studio who are really good at predictions. There's another gentleman who seems to look into the future well, even when he sets his questions. But in this case, we'll explain exactly why. Let's just remind you of what our joy factor question was for today. And that was, of course, relevant to somebody who's on the pitch today. There were no tricks in there, no googlies for a change. The only ones came from Kuldeep Yadav. Which cricketer playing today is the only one to be the leading run scorer in an under-19 World Cup tournament? And it all set us thinking about all the people who have performed well. And of course, I don't know how Joy knew it, it was somebody who was very much in focus today. Let's check out what the answer is. And there it is. Shikhar Dhawan in 2004. Shubman Gill came very, very close. He was, of course, sitting on the sidelines there. And that was the answer. Shikhar Dhawan, brilliant innings today, getting past 5,000 runs. And also the answer for today's joy factor. All of you, lots and lots of you, in fact, gave us the right answer on hashtag Cricbuzz Live. But who's the winner? Let's go and find out who the winner came from. Always get interesting handles there.
Shwet.
Shwet. I was wondering, is there a letter missing somewhere?
Shwet.
No, it's just Shwet.
Shwet. Well.
All right. Well done, Shwet. If that's for you, because you've just told us that I am Shet, 25, possibly his age.
I'll tell you what's interesting is, if you look down the 11 players who played today, how many of them have come through the Under-19 World Cup itself? And if you look at that Indian side, for a start, Rohit Sharma, 2006, Shikhar Dhawan 2004, Virat Kohli 2008, Ambati Rayudu 2004 again, Dinesh Karthik 2006 or 4 again. I think Dinesh Karthik was the same side, wasn't he? The same side
4.
as Shikhar Dhawan and Ambati Rayudu.
Correct. And then
Vijay
Rohit Sharma
Shankar,
was the
Kuldeep
next one.
Yadav has come from under 19. So many of them have come from the under 19 World Cup. Kane Williamson, Trent Bolt, Tim Southee, so many from,
Same
it seems
batch,
to be the pathway,
Certainly is. I mean,
Colin Munro.
In fact, I was thinking the answer is going to be either Virat Kohli or Kane Williamson, because they played together under 19 World Cup.
Yes, they certainly did. But yes, the answer was Shikhar Dhawan. But thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts there. Republic Day beckons for India, or should I say it's Australia Day as far as you're concerned?
Republic Day.
You're back. You're back. It always was
it's Republic Day.
I just had to get one
And
back.
my wish for Mount
Maunganui
is that sun will not stop playing.
No, it won't. For one very good reason, Harsha.
There's not enough
Hardly
sun?
comes out. Every time I've watched a match at Mount Maunganui, it's a beautiful place. They keep showing you aerial shots of the slightly mountainous region there, but the sun's never shining, so the water never looks as blue as it should, like it does in Napier.
Okay, there you go. All the 30,000 people in Napier would have enjoyed watching that.
I think Mount Maunganui is actually less than Napier.
Even smaller.
So, yeah, much smaller. So
It's
thank
like
you
one
to
of the
them.
islands in the Caribbean where you go to all the time. Someone once told me, you must come to Anguilla. I said, yeah, come to Anguilla. He said, 11,000 people live there. I said, I walk down the street, I meet 11,000. Anyway.
Yes, there you go. On that note, thank you again to Harsha Bhogle, Zaheer Khan, and to Joy Bhattacharya for that, and the entire team putting together Cricbuzz Live for you every time we come around. We're going to be back on Republic Day as the teams head off to beautiful Mount Maunganui. As we said, for more than one reason, it's going to be all cricket and no sun-stopping play. It's going to be bright and early in the morning. We're going to come to you at 7:05 in the morning. Tune into Cricbuzz Live. Until then, have a good day.